I'm very clear to start with, whether you call it toolkit or whether you call it a sledgehammer.
Yes.
If these
Yes.
fellows who want to sit in Canada and want to use their ill-gotten gains to start trouble in India are allowed any run, I think it will be a shame on all of us. And we need to put this down with all our might and with. See, on the one hand, we have our farmers who may have a grievance. You and I may think it is misplaced. Somebody else may think it is well placed. But that's a part of democracy. On the other end of the spectrum, you have troublemakers like the Khalistani movement people who are always looking out for an opportunity to further their agenda. And their agenda is unlawful. It violates a host of Indian laws. It is an act of terror. I am very deeply disappointed to see environmental activists becoming the bridge between these two ends of the spectrum, allowing these terrorist elements to infiltrate genuine protests by pretending to support the genuine protest movement, but really acting, holding hands with the terrorists. Language of the toolkit has to be seen in the context of the author of the toolkit. Language is a medium of communication. We have to get to the message also by seeing who's communicating the message. I mean, to take a very simple example, saying do khokha de deo doesn't mean you want 2 boxes of cardboard, right? So you have to see who's using the language and in what context it is being used. Yeah. If this language is being used by the Canadian terrorists of physical action, it has a completely different connotation. When the Canadian terrorists talk of desecrating our Red Fort and on 26th of January, it has a very different connotation from an angry farmer who says, I will stand on the top of Republic Day, I will stand on top of the Red Fort and speak my heart out. One may be a protest, maybe a bit misplaced. The other is sinister. So we have to separate the grain from the chaff. If we start separating the grain from the chaff, if the terrorist uses the words like physical action, violence, and then goes on to talk, and I was horrified to read those words. India is engaging in mass murder and genocide. For God's sake, what is this going on? And you want to support a person who uses language like that for India? So to call for physical action by telling people India is engaging in genocide, India is drifting into fascism, India is engaging in mass murder, and we must have physical action. What does it mean? You add up these 4 sentences. I mean, if you don't understand the message, you have to be thick as. I've seen the toolkit for the first time. Honestly, I was amused to see Greta Thunberg and that lady singer, I'm sorry, I can't remember her name, tweeting about this. And I thought it was a tribute to the fact that India has become popular enough for these global celebrities to notice our existence, us lesser mortals, and bless us with their wisdom. But it now appears to be far more serious. And I mean, people of my age, we have lived through the early 80s and the horror that was terrorism in Punjab. I have lived through the day when I had to rush to modern school because there was a story that there had been an attack. And my little daughter, who came and told me in 1984 that they were being taught how to hide under tables in the case of a terror shootout. We've lived through those days, and the government owes it to each one of us to do whatever is within their might to make sure that this scourge of terrorism doesn't come back to Punjab again. First of all, let us be very clear. Our chest is broad enough and our shoulders are wide enough to deal with dilettantes who, out of a sense of frustration or a sense of misplaced anger or first of all, let us be very clear. Our chest is broad enough and our shoulders are wide enough to deal with dilettantes who, out of a sense of frustration or a sense of misplaced anger or a bit of both, start cursing the government and using these strong phrases. It is quite another matter if an organization known for its terrorist agenda uses the same expression. In one case, it may be a misplaced criticism, a false allegation. In another case, it may have a flavor of exhortation. Depends on the context in which it is spoken, depends on why it is being spoken, and depends on who it is being spoken by. So you have to make this distinction. Terrorists cannot say my free speech right extends to using words which would fuel terror in your country. An angry Indian who feels angry about something may use ridiculous words to describe the state of play in India, such as genocide, words such as mass murder. We have read this on silly articles in the New York Times and in the Times and stuff like that. People who don't understand India, or worse, who have a problem with India and have a complex, they use words like this. We turn a blind eye to them. But turning a blind eye to terrorists is inviting trouble into your country. So please, for God's sake, this is one event where I hope the government treats it with the seriousness it deserves and sends a strong message that these chaps from the SFI and other similar groups, if you shake hands with them, we will brand you with them and we will treat you accordingly. And doesn't matter if you want to hide under climate change or want to hide under environmental work. Arnav, it breaks my heart. I'm sorry I say this, from 1996 to 2012, when I was full-time in India, I have given hours and hours and hours of my professional time appearing as an amicus curiae in the forest case and in the clean air case. I was Solicitor General, but I appeared as amicus against the union and the state government when CNG was introduced in Delhi. We have all tried to do our little bit for the climate problem of India and for the environmental problem of India. So please, so for somebody to say I'm a climate change activist and therefore I'm immune from laws of sedition, I'm immune from all sense of propriety, is a complete misunderstanding of what things are all about.
Aren't there any international laws under which India can arrest people like Mohd Haliwal? He's referring to this person, who's, I think, in Canada and a Khalistani funding this, and bring him India to be tried here.
Well, we can register if we can show the nexus and we can show what he has done, because this is called the effects doctrine. In one judgment, the Supreme Court has considered this. You know, the Kerala case where the fishermen were shot at by the Italian Marines. There the Supreme Court has considered what is called the effects doctrine. If the effects of an act outside India resonate in India, it could be an offense in India. And if these actions have led to violence in India and an attempt to spark terrorism in India, it could be an offense in India. We could register that crime and seek his extradition. Extradition, of course, is a political process, but we can at least start that.
What are the legal options available to counter these digital medium through which some of these elements are spreading hatred?
Well, we have a way of blocking...
Because the focus was on the social media in the toolkit.
We have a way of blocking it in India, and our system should be sensitive to block all such stuff in India, because its effect is really felt in India. But I think the government of India now has to set in place a mechanism and start this debate on some kind of international norms of containing social media, because this social media is transnational. And believe me, it will find resonance with a lot of other governments if we could arrive at a convention by which you have an international tribunal by which you could sort these fellows out globally. It would be a great thing. And I think government of India should start this process, because countries like ours, We have 300 million social media users, 400 million social media users. That's more than the population of whole of Europe. And we are most affected. Now people are very savvy on social media. We are a digital nation. So we should take the lead in trying to work out a global convention on how this menace can be contained.
You spoke about context quite well about 5 minutes back. I'll share one context with you, Mr. Salve. The pro-Khalistani outfit, Sikhs for Justice, which is banned in India, has released a video seeking justice for these people, like this Disha Ravi and others. And they have said that the liberation of Punjab from India is the only solution. I consider this to be a direct attack on our sovereignty. So shouldn't we unapologetically now assert our sovereignty?
There never has been and there never will be an occasion for us to be apologetic about our sovereignty. That is why I have sharply differed from certain others, intellectuals. I don't consider myself an intellectual, but despite which I have taken the courage of differing from them. When they say, if Kashmiris want independence, so what? No harm. If Punjab wants independence, so what? No harm. These people don't understand. The common man is not the one behind this. There are extraneous forces which want to dismember India. So I think we owe it to each and every citizen of a united India to make sure that these nefarious forces which want India to be dismembered are appropriately dealt with. And I think we must use all the laws in our armory to deal with them. Try doing this to America and see how they come down cracking on you. I mean, all these people from Canada and America, try doing this in Canada. Try a secessionist movement in Canada and see how they'll come down on you. Try it in America and see how they will come down on you like a ton of bricks. So I don't think we need to be apologetic about asserting ourselves where it deals with these elements. And I don't think we should be apologetic about showing that we care a tuppence for these so-called celebrities who want to come and lecture us. I mean, I was hoping that someday Ms. Thunberg would explain the farm laws to me. Perhaps she understands Indian law and the Constitution more than I do, and therefore finds something wrong with the farm laws. Even for these people, they started already saying presumed guilty until proved innocent without even waiting for a court to examine the charges. This binaryism, that either a judge is straightforward, honest, and liberal, or a judge is pro-BJP. I mean, this kind of a binaryism which has come into our dialogue must go out. This is ridiculous.